Welcome to the final video of the Chapter 1 Retake Review. We've talked about the first 4 sections there. Now we're going to talk about defining and sketching the geometric terms. So make sure you guys take good notes. Again, this is the last one, so if you guys go to the end, there will be the review at the end that you're going to need to do and turn into your teacher in order to retake the test. So the first thing we're going to do is start defining some words and showing with pictures. The definition of an acute angle is an angle less than 90 degrees. Angle less than 90 degrees. So in order to draw that, all we have to do is draw our picture. The key here is to show which angle we're measuring, which is that part. It's acute. It's smaller than 90 degrees. An obtuse angle is an angle larger than 90 degrees. So it's larger than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. But less than 180 degrees. So in order to show that, we could draw a picture again with our angles. And there's our measure. Remember, that's larger than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. A right angle is exactly 90-degree angle. It's a 90-degree angle. In order to draw that, we do our picture, and we all know the symbol for 90 degrees is the little box in the corner. That tells us, even if I can't draw straight lines to come together, that is a 90-degree angle. A straight angle is just a straight line, and that is a 180 degrees angle. 180-degree angle. Coplanar. Coplanar are points on the same plane or objects on the same plane. So they're on the same plane. So objects on the same plane. On the same plane. So a picture of that is we'll make our plane. Then we'll put points on there. Let's label them A, B, and C. So those are our points that are coplanar. Collinear are points on the same line. Collinear points are points on the same line. Same line. So to do that, we need to draw a line. Then we need at least 2 points for those points to be collinear. Linear pairs are adjacent angles, adjacent supplementary angles. Angles. And if you guys don't remember what those are, we're going to define those on the next page. To draw linear pairs, I'm going to draw 2 lines like that. And remember, 2 linear pairs are the angles that add together right next to each other to make the straight line. So you can see that those 2 together make this straight line right there. Those are linear pairs. The next thing we're going to talk about is vertical angles. So 2 angles are vertical angles if their sides form 2 straight lines. So if their sides form 2 straight lines. So what that means is if I were to have 2 lines that cross, so 2 straight lines like that, my vertical angles would be the points here and here that are basically across from each other. Those are vertical angles. Adjacent angles are angles that share a common vertex and side but have no common interior points. So they share a common vertex and side. A common vertex and side, but no points, interior points are the same. So really what that means is if I have 2 angles like this, so A, B, C, D, my adjacent angles are this and this, right next to each other there, but they're not going to share any interior points. My midpoint of a segment is the point that divides a segment into 2 congruent segments. So point that divides my segment into 2 congruent segments. into two congruent segments. So, an example of that, the way we draw that, draw our A, our B, here's our midpoint. Now the thing that you have to make sure you put in there to show that it's a midpoint are those two lines saying that those two parts are congruent, those two sides are congruent. Supplementary angles are two angles, that's two angles that add to 180 degrees. So for instance, kind of like we've already saw on the last video, two angles that add together to make a straight line here. So if I labeled these 1 and 2, those would be supplementary angles. They don't have to be right next to each other though. So there's one example. Another example would be is if I drew one like this, said that that one was 100 degrees, even though it's less than 90, I know. And then if I drew another one like this, and I said that this one was 80 degrees, those two would be supplementary because they would add up to 180 degrees. Complementary angles are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. That add up to 90 degrees. Make sure I put my degree symbols on there. So for instance, if we had this guy right here showing that it's a right angle, and I cut it in half, or cut it apart, and this was angle 1, this is angle 2. But just like supplementary angles, I could draw an angle here that is, let's say it's 37 degrees, and then I could draw an angle down here, and then what's left would be, so we'd have 53 degrees, and those two together would be complementary even though they're not right next to each other. So let's do a little examples here to show you guys what we mean. Now remember, vertical angles are congruent. So we can find C right here because vertical angles are congruent. So 142 and C are the same thing. So we know C equals 142 degrees. Now I was finding the easiest ones. We also know that if we look here, A and 142, they make a straight line right here. They're linear pairs because they're also adjacent and they're supplementary. So that means that they add up to 180 degrees. So A plus 142 equals 180 degrees. So really A is going to equal 38 degrees. Now since A equals 38 degrees and A and B are our vertical angles, we know that B is also 38 degrees. So we can fill in B as 38 degrees as well. Now we can go over and we can also notice that F and D, whatever F and D are, they're going to equal 100, or they're going to be equal each other because they're vertical angles. But we also see here, since this is 90 degrees and it makes a straight line, we know that these two added together are 90 degrees. So D plus 53, those are complementary. They equal 90 degrees. That means that D is going to equal 37 degrees. And since D equals 37 degrees, and we just said D and F are vertical angles, F is also going to equal 37 degrees. We can also see that 53 and E are vertical angles, so we know that E is also 53 degrees. That's how you would find that. If that went too fast, go ahead and rewind and watch it again. Next, we need to look on this part right here. So angle 1 and angle 2 are complementary angles. Given the measure of angle 1, find the measure of angle 2. So they're complementary. Right now I'm going to write because I know complementary means they add up to 90 degrees. So measure of angle 2 equals, well, we need to find that. And the measure of angle 1 equals 52. So all we need to realize is, well, what's left from 90 to equal 52? So we all know that 90 minus 52 is 38 degrees. Now we need to do the same thing. The measure of angle 2, we need to find that. We've used up 76, so we'll do 90 minus 76, and 90 minus 76 is 14 degrees. Now we'll go down to the next question where there's supplementary angles. Supplementary I know equals 180 degrees, so they add up to 180 degrees. So the measure of angle 2, we need to find that piece. The measure of angle 1 equals 147. All we need to do is 180 minus 147. That'll leave us with 33 degrees. Again, doing the same thing, we need to find the measure of angle 2. We know the measure of angle 1 equals 94 degrees, so we'll take 180 minus 94. That'll leave us with 86 degrees. So if that went too fast, make sure you pause, rewind, look what you need to do. If we have complementary angles and we have 1, all we need to do is subtract the 1 away from 90 degrees to get what's left for the other angle. With complementary angles, if we have 180 degrees total, we subtract the angle we have left to figure out what that angle is. So that is all of the videos. You guys should be ready, prepared to go for the retake. We do need you to do some practice problems before you do the retake though, to show that you are prepared. We are going to correct these and go over them, so make sure you check them for accuracy. Make sure you do them the best you can. Please pause this so you can make sure you write down all of the problems that you will be turning into your teacher.